Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Well, this is an interesting article. Wait a minute. A Wall Street CEO who maybe knows where interest rates are heading? Talking about your fox guarding the henhouse.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Looking back over the nearly 40 years I've been in the field of finance, if someone asked me what the two main drivers of the economy are, the two key indicators that will determine whether that $20 bill in your pocket will buy at the grocery what it should, are as follows: interest rates and oil prices. That's it. And if there is that rare individual that knows what the future will hold in terms of interest rates and or oil prices, well, that individual who controls the financial world around these two items can stand to make a lot of money having such insight. And when it comes to those advising us on our money, this ability to know more than we do and having an advantage over us is oftentimes referred to as what we call a conflict of interest, or something the old-timers used to refer to as
a fox guarding the henhouse.
And it's not just a Wall Street executive who is predicting the future in hopes of possibly gaining more access to savers' money, but also advisors advising savers on where to invest their money, while all along never sharing with the saver how much the advisor is going to make on the transaction. Which is why today I'm going to share with you the telltale signs of what a conflict of interest looks like and what savers can do to spot that fox in their financial henhouse before turning over their life savings to them. So, let's get started. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we share with you how to spot the fox watching over your financial henhouse, let me introduce two young lads watching over the production of this show each week. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. So let's start out with this notion of someone having a conflict of interest in the advice they are giving you, and the old saying that the advice giver is only giving you advice that could be in their best interest instead of yours, or what the old-timers used to say, the fox guarding the henhouse. So what does conflict of interest really mean? Well, for help on the subject, let's Google the internet to find out, and here's what the internet provided me. According to whoever comes up with this stuff, there are 5 types of conflict of interests: romantic, relational, financial, competitive, and confidential. And what do all forms of conflict of interest have in common? That's right, each involve individuals engaging in activities that lead to personal gain at the expense of others that they are supposed to represent or work for. And since this is a financial show, let's stay with the old-timers' definition of this conflict of interest, and that is the fox guarding the financial henhouse. Here's the reality of receiving financial advice from others. Whenever you and I take any sort of financial advice, whether it's buying the latest book from a financial entertainer, sitting down with an advisor who is suggesting you roll over your 401k to their firm, maybe even that tax preparer who is suggesting you toss all of your money into an annuity, and yes, the big boys on Wall Street who come up with the supposed brand new ideas that they say magically can tie into your retirement age. And of course, we know these products to be target date funds, which, as we're about to find out, have been a flop. So how do you avoid working with those who might have a conflict of interest regarding your retirement? Well, stay tuned as I share with you the 4 keys to consider before ever handing over your life savings to others. I'm Tony Walker. Good stuff coming your way, and we will be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. For those of you who have watched this TV show or listened to my radio show with any regularity, probably have picked up on the fact that I am kind of a contrarian. What's a contrarian, you might ask? Well, a contrarian is that person who tends to question where the masses are heading and instead tends to sit back and understand why they're heading that way in the first place. My contrarian personality showed up some 15 years ago when I wrote this book, Don't Follow the Herd, which provided the saver a whimsical view of what I'd witnessed over then my 25-year career in working in the financial trenches and watching savers, well, follow the herd. My take on money also led me to seek out other like-minded contrarians like William Woolman, who in 2002 wrote this game changer of following the herd called The Great 401k Hoax. Talking about your fox guarding the hen house. And now, as we look at where savers are in 2024, with many begging that those old pensions would come back, but not knowing that they won't, of course, and realizing that the target date funds created by Wall Street, which were supposed to magically protect savers' money, which they do not. So what is Wall Street's answer to safety and security now? Well, oddly enough, they are now suggesting a product that for years they trashed. That's right, folks, annuities. Take a look at what they are saying now, that up to 80% of the 401k they could be managing could be, quote, annuitized. That's 80% of retirement assets to annuitization. Talking about changing your tune. So what does all this mean? What it means, folks, is when you establish your personal financial henhouse, you better know who are you going to trust to guard it. Because if you have someone, anyone, and yes, that might even include a little man in a sweater vest, who has a conflict of interest to make more money on your money than you do, then you've got a problem. And while what I'm about to share with you cannot guarantee that we in the financial world will have zero conflict of interest in giving you advice, the following checklist should at least help you understand who you're dealing with and to make sure as best you can that they're not providing advice that is in their best interest instead of yours. Let's take a look at these 4 items you need to be aware of. First of all, is the person you're getting ready to hand over your life savings to a fiduciary? In other words, is that person required by law to work in your best interest? Well, of course, at Tony Walker Financial, we are fiduciaries required by law to make sure that we are acting in your best interest. Number 2, here's a biggie. Is the advisor independent? Now, again, we're not trashing advisors who work with these big firms and who are technically employees of the firms, but you got to ask yourself, if the person giving you advice potentially could be receiving marching orders from those above, are they always going to be looking out for your best interest? In other words, are they independent of someone telling them what to do? At Tony Walker Financial, we are independent, and although we put money with Charles Schwab and many insurance companies, we can choose to work with whoever we want. And in fact, I would say that you're our boss, not Charles Schwab and not the insurance companies we might place your money with. Huge issue. Number 3, I love this one. Does the advisor have experience? I mean, working knowledge in both the products offered by Main Street, which in retirement planning, that usually is annuities or life insurance, and also has a very good working knowledge of products offered on Wall Street, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and other securities. Again, we're very unusual because since the mid-'80s, I have been licensed to sell both products and have worked in this world for years. In fact, put this up full screen, Aaron. We have something called the split IRA concept that works wonderfully for savers. So if a saver wants liquidity or possibly even have some money in the market, we can do that through Charles Schwab at a whopping fee of 0.8%. And or if they want annuities and life insurance products, obviously we're well versed in those products. And those annuities, of course, if you choose to, can provide that beloved mailbox money. Okay, let's keep going. Number 4, finally, is the advisor transparent? Now, man, this is where you're talking about conflict of interest. And here's what I mean. Are they transparent about the fees and commissions they're going to be charging you. Again, at Tony Walker Financial, we work both on a fee basis and on a commission basis. And we will gladly share with you those fees that's found in Form ADV Part 2. And of course, we have documentation that tells you how much we make in commissions on the sale of commissionable products. So you always want to make sure that that advisor is very transparent and open about how much money they are making on these transactions. And while these 4 items cannot guarantee you'll always get the best advice in your best interest, it is certainly a starting place to consider to make sure that the person you're getting ready to hand your life savings over to, again, is going to make sure they keep the fox out of the financial henhouse. So what does this look like in the real world? And how do we at Tony Walker Financial help savers get what they want in life without regard to how much money we're always going to be making on the transaction? Well, when I come back, very, very interesting case. Let me set the stage. This is a 75-year-old widow who has a large IRA with a money manager, has a bunch of money over in the bank, and she has no clue what to do with the IRA, RMDs. She's worried about taxes. And you know what else she wants to do? She just wants to see her kids enjoy this money now versus later, and we're going to show her how to do just that. I'm Tony Walker. Let's get the whiteboard out. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the WorryFree Retirement. I am Aaron Ornder, and our latest client spotlight comes to us from a longtime client who posted this review on the Better Business Bureau. We've been working with Tony since 2001. I had some money saved up, but the money was in different pots, and I really wasn't sure if they were working together to serve my retirement planning needs. He placed me in a program that not only gave my family financial security if something should happen to me, but allowed me to be my own financial institution. I loved buying real estate, and I have been able to be my own banker. Recently, I decided to make a U-turn with my retirement plans, and Tony and his professional staff showed me an option that I didn't even know existed on how to minimize taxes. My wife and I are blessed to have the financial security that we currently enjoy in these troubling times we find ourselves in now. We are thankful that we listened to Tony 20 plus years ago and still are learning new things during his podcasts. Thank you, Tony, to you and your staff for all your hard work on our new venture.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And thank you, Eric and Judy, for your trust and confidence in our service. By the way, if you are a client of Tony Walker Financial and would like to share your experience with Tony Walker Financial, and we can possibly put on the air, please forward your comments to Trey at TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let us know how you feel about the work we're providing you. Now, if you're not a client, let's talk sooner about our services right away. All you got to do there is just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, and we'll be right back in touch with you. Okay, let's get back to this notion of the very real possibility that the folks suggesting you buy what they're selling have a conflict of interest in possibly making more money on your money than you do. That the very people telling you where to invest your money might have a conflict of interest in giving you the best advice that is in your best interest. So let's start with that person and what they're selling, whether it's a financial entertainer peddling their latest self-help book, the guy preparing your taxes who seems more interested in selling you an annuity instead of saving you on taxes. Or how about the company handling your 401k plan who seems excited to get your money when you invest it with them, but sure is slow to give it back to you when you need it most. There's always a chance of somebody advising you who stands more to gain from the profits of things than you do. Oh, wait a minute. Speaking of 401k plans and trying to get your money back, I got to share with you something that Craig Davis in our Louisville office, who does all of our rollovers, encountered as he was trying to work on rolling some money over from a huge custodian to one of our clients in our split IRA concept.
Okay. Yep. It was a pleasure. You too. Let us know anytime we can help. Yeah. That's right, Tony. Let me tell you about this situation that we had recently. We went months with a client. They had their funds with a pretty big custodian. We sent in paperwork to request a rollover. They said, we'll have it for you in a couple of days. But when we called back in a week, they said, give us a few more days. When we called back in 2 weeks, they said, give us a few more days. And that process just continued over 2 months with us not receiving those funds. Typically, these kind of rollovers can take only about 15 minutes on a telephone call. But sometimes these custodians make us work months and months, and continually they ask for more paperwork. It can be quite difficult sometimes.
Good stuff. Thank you, Craig. Now, to prove to you that in my work, and again, keep in mind, folks, I've had between 30 and 40 appointments per week. At Tony Walker Financial, we have even added more staff to make sure that I can see more and more people so that the staff can service what I sell. It's a wonderful arrangement, very unique to the industry. In fact, as we speak, we've just hired 3 new staff members in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and we're excited about the services we are providing. All right, here's a case I'm going to share with you. Totally out of the norm. Probably if you're a financial advisor watching it, you'll probably think I've gone crazy here. But we're proving the point that when I'm meeting with people, again, folks, it's not about the money at this stage of my career. It's about helping people get what they want. So let's walk over to the whiteboard. So again, a very interesting case here. We have a 75-year-old widow. And again, I asked what her main goal in life was. And she said, honey, at this stage, all I want to do is make my life more simple. And I want to make sure that the kids, she has 2 children, enjoy this money now rather than waiting for me to die. So let's look at the parameters of this case. Again, her home, which is paid for, $200,000. Of course, I asked her, is this home very livable? Is there a lot of stairs? No, got the home set up. I should be able to die in this home, Lord willing. So, okay, the home situation is taken care of. She has an IRA. This was left to her by her husband, worth about $300,000. And remember now, this is one of the things that really confuses her. She has to take out RMDs because she's over the age of 73. Not that big of a deal, but this kind of stuff really bothers people. They're worried they're going to miss one and have all these penalties. And currently she's with a money manager, and I asked what they're charging. She didn't know. And actually she said it's been all over the place. She's getting nervous about it at her age. It's been going up. It's been going down. It's been a roller coaster. She's not real happy with all of this risk. I asked her if she's talked to the money manager. He said, don't worry about it. You got plenty of money in the bank. Now, keep in mind, here's a conflict of interest, folks. Remember, most money managers, including us through our Charles Schwab, they make money on your money whether you do or not. They're charging a recurring fee. In this case, it was about 1.5%. So obviously, they're making $4,500 a year, whether she does better or does worse. Not a great deal for somebody that's 75 and doesn't like a lot of risk. Now, over at the local bank, she had a combination of CDs and money markets of $300,000. I asked her if she was using any of that, and she said, no, not really. I said, what are you doing with the interest? She said, I'm just compounding it, which she's also compounding her taxes if she's not very careful here. And then she had fixed income. This was pension and Social Security coming in of about $4,000 a month. And I asked her if that was plenty of money. She said, more money than I even need. Remember, folks, the financial world would have you believe that as you get older, because of the effects of inflation, you need a gajillion dollars. What I've seen, barring some sort of health catastrophe, it's quite the opposite. In fact, put this up full screen here, and we talk about it all the time. It's called the 3 halves of life. And notice this young lady is in what we call the second half. The money going down, we want it actually going down. We want to get it out of her name because she doesn't need it. She's not spending any money. So you look at this and you say, okay, Tony, what's your point here? What are you suggesting? Well, what I was suggesting is when she mentioned kids enjoying the money now, she has 2 children. So I said, hey, what if we could get out of this whole RMD mess, take care of the taxes, because these taxes are probably going to go up. By the way, she was unaware that when she passes away, the tax tumor, as I like to call it, doesn't go away when she dies. No, it gets passed on to her kids. Okay, so in general, now again, folks, don't run out and do something like this. This takes a lot of planning and creativity, and it is very specific to this situation. But here's the kind of thought process I went through. So I had her come back in, and I had her 2 adult children come in. Now, keep in mind that from a gift tax standpoint, each person in this world can give up to $18,000 per year per child tax-free. So in this case, I said, ma'am, what if we could get rid of that RMD and over the next couple of years give it all away to charity, church, and your children and just get rid of all these taxes, and then when you die, not if you die, when you die, the money that's left over that will go to the kids would be completely tax-free. And she was like, yes, let's do that. I'm tired of worrying about these taxes. So what we're going to do is we're going to accelerate this. I'll put a big arrow going up. We are going to intentionally take out way more than her required minimum distribution. You see, all she's doing is postponing the taxes, and with the 2025 laws expiring, taxes are probably going to go up. Then we got to think about what happens if the kids inherit this. They both make good money. That's going to get piled on top of their taxes. This is a disaster. So we're going to accelerate the money. We're going to pay the tax now, get rid of that tumor over the next several years, gift all this money to the kids, right? After she's paid taxes, she can gift that money to the kids tax-free, and she can watch them use and enjoy that. And you say, well, what's this got to do with conflict of interest? Well, we're going to go get that money from the money manager, move it to Charles Schwab. The fees are going to be half what they're charging, and in roughly 4 years, there is no more IRA. So follow what we're saying there. Our fees will come down, and by the end of the 4th year, we will get no fees. So she's going to go from paying $3,000 to $5,000 a year probably for the rest of her life to in 4 years have no fees, no more tax tumor, and watch the kids enjoy what they've worked so hard to accumulate during her and her husband's lifetime. Now, that's what I call a worry-free retirement. And maybe that's you right now. You're watching something like this. You just say, it's like the person that came in the other day and I showed some ideas like this. She said, my money manager never talks about this. And I said, that's why. They're not going to talk to you about giving money away because that's going to encroach on how much money they make. Folks, you have to work with a retirement planning firm that does not care about the money but cares more about you and making sure we effectuate the goals you're trying to accomplish. So if you're sitting there saying, Tony, I really need a second opinion. None of this feels right to me. What can you do for me? Well, what we can do is set up a phone call. First of all, we call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. To get this established with you and I to talk briefly about phone, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call anytime at 877-499-9255. Well, earlier in the show, we talked about the 5 sources of conflict of interest, but did you realize there's a huge conflict of interest out there that could be focusing on your spiritual life? Now, this is going to be some good stuff. I'm really going to have a cup of coffee for this. We'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Tired of the roller coaster ride of the stock market? Let Tony Walker show you how to smooth out the ride with your money. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Our topic today revolves around this notion that others coming to our need might have more to gain from their advice than we do. In other words, when taking the advice from others in our time of need, we must always determine if the person giving us the advice has what is referred to as a conflict of interest in giving that advice. We are seeing this play out real time as for years Wall Street has bashed annuities and instead suggested savers risk their money in something called target date funds. And now that these target date funds are not so safe after all, the response from Wall Street is selling the very products they used to tell savers to avoid. That's right, annuities. Talking about your fox in the hen house. Earlier, we spoke of the different types of relationships that can exhibit a conflict of interest by one party over the other, but left off this list is what can happen in our spiritual lives when someone with a conflict of interest shows up with a conflicting advice. Check it out. We're in Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Jesus, after being led by God's Spirit, has now gone 40 straight days without food, and as a result, at least you would think anyway, would be very hungry. And seeing the opportunity to exploit Jesus' hunger, the devil pays Jesus a visit. So what can we learn from this encounter? Well, first, know this, fine Christian, the devil is not stupid. He knows your weaknesses, and he knows my weaknesses, and he knows when we are most weak, and that's when he tends to show up with his personal conflict of interest. But notice how Jesus responds to the devil's temptation of Jesus quickly showing off his power and satisfying his own hunger. The devil isn't testing whether Jesus can turn stones into bread. He knew he could do that. What the devil is really testing is Jesus' faith in God's will. To which Jesus responds, as we all should respond in times of testing, we don't feed our faith with the temporary things of the world. We feed our faith on the Word of God. And maybe that's you right now. You are on the throes of desperate times. Maybe you're hungry for something other than food. Maybe it's hungry for a relationship, for somebody who cares about you. Maybe you're hungry for better health, or maybe you're just hungry for more peace on earth. Whatever you're hungry for, be careful where you turn to get that hunger satisfied from. Make sure the person suggesting your next move is truly in your corner and thinking in your best interest, not theirs. And that, my friend, is some good news you and I can take to the bank. Amen? Well, speaking of being hungry, are you hungry for some solid financial advice from someone who has been working in the best interest of savers for nearly 40 years? Someone who truly wants to do what is in your best interest? Well, my name is Tony Walker, and if you are a saver who is sick and tired of feeling like everyone is working in their best interest instead of yours, we need to talk. And best of all, we've made this absolutely free and at no obligation to you. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, and here's how easy it is to talk to myself, the owner of the company, about your situation. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and you're going to click on that little red box, and that information will be confidentially sent to our offices where we will arrange that phone call so you and I can talk by phone. Now, if it warrants, we're then going to meet with you in person. That's right, at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, or if the internet's not your thing, simply call 877-499-9255. Well, we've enjoyed today's program, and we hope you've enjoyed being with us, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.